Have you ever wondered how close humanity once came to destroying itself? Not because of natural disasters, not because of famine, disease, or war, but because of the corruption within human hearts. And the frightening truth is, this story really happened. In the Bible, it's described as an age when darkness spread faster than life itself. A time when, if you had lived in it, you might never believe that humans were once created to be good. But everything began so simply, with one small family. Adam and Eve left the Garden of Eden and stepped into a wild, untouched world. They had children, and their children had children, and so on. Humanity began to multiply across the earth. People built homes, villages, and cities. They farmed vast fields, raised livestock, developed crafts, music, metalwork, tools, ornaments. Human beings grew stronger, smarter, more numerous. But tragically, their outward growth did not reflect their inner purity. Instead of preserving the goodness God intended, they began to lose themselves. It started small, selfishness, envy, greed, but those small cracks grew into hatred. Hatred turned into violence, and violence into murder. Just a few generations after Adam, a human killed another human. The first blood stained the ground, and from that moment, the earth became polluted by human hands. Yet the tragedy did not stop there. Generations continued to decline. People no longer sought what was good. They chased after their own desires. They worshipped false powers, rebelled against God, glorified brutality, pleasure, and domination. They took delight in evil. Cruelty became entertainment. Injustice became a way of life. The world grew more crowded, but also darker. Laughter faded into screams. Hands that once built and planted now destroyed and stole. The fertile ground became a battlefield for greed. The Bible describes that era with a shocking sentence. The wickedness of man was great on the earth, and every intention of their hearts was only evil continually. Imagine that, a world where even a single honest thought, a single act of kindness, was as rare as a drop of water in a desert. A world where darkness covered not only the sky, but the human heart itself. The earth was no longer merely noisy with the footsteps of millions. It groaned beneath the weight of their violence. And God looked down. He saw that wickedness had spread across the entire earth. Humanity was spiraling downward so quickly that, if left unchecked, evil would swallow all hope. But among the countless people corrupted by their age, there was still one small light. One man who remained righteous. One man who walked against the darkness of his generation. Sin had risen like a flood before the storm. Violence, envy, deceit, hatred, all of it blended together into a thick, suffocating darkness covering the world. Human beings thought only of evil, pursued evil, and delighted in evil. Yet within that vast, blackened landscape, there remained a small light, so faint that from a distance one might have mistaken it for a dying ember. But it did not die. It continued to glow, persistent and steady, refusing to surrender to the night. That light bore a name: Noah. Noah was not a mighty warrior, nor a brilliant philosopher, nor a man of influence with power to change society. He was simply an ordinary person, much like any other. What made him different was the path he chose to walk. While the world surrendered to corruption, Noah held on to faithfulness. While people lived by impulse and appetite, Noah lived by truth. While others ignored the weight of sin, Noah preserved integrity. This difference, simple yet profound, made Noah the final point of light in a generation decaying from within. And God, who sees even the smallest flicker in the deepest darkness, saw him. One day, amid the drunken celebrations of sin and the noisy mornings filled with cruelty, God spoke to Noah. His words rolled like thunder across a cloudless sky. The wickedness of mankind has become too great. I will cleanse the earth. But then came a sentence that no one in history had ever heard. But with you, I will establish my covenant. It was a moment of destiny, the moment when an ordinary man received a task that would change the future of all humanity. God commanded Noah to build a great ark. Not a simple boat, not a fisherman's vessel, but a massive structure, far beyond the technical knowledge of that age. An ark large enough to shelter his family and pairs of every creature on the earth. A sanctuary when judgment would sweep the world. Imagine the scene. Noah standing upon dry, cracked ground far from any sea, holding hammer and chisel, while curious neighbors gathered to mock him. They laughed at him without restraint. They asked what he was doing, why he was building a giant ship on empty land, why he believed a flood could possibly engulf the entire world. And every time Noah answered, "Because the Lord has spoken," their laughter grew louder, until they could barely stand from laughing so hard. They never paused to wonder, what if he was right? But Noah did not quit. Not for a moment. Day after day, month after month, year after year. Each strike of his hammer was a declaration of faith. Every plank of wood he set into place was a step toward God's promise. Across those years, Noah was not merely building an ark. He was building trust. He was building obedience. He was building a future the world could not comprehend. He understood something the rest of his generation had forgotten. When God speaks, it will come to pass. Even if the human eye sees nothing, even if the human mind understands nothing, even if the human heart believes nothing. And that obedience set Noah apart more than anything else. While the world sank deeper into corruption, laughing, mocking, boasting, living as though tomorrow would never come, the ark grew beneath Noah's hands. A structure made of wood, but filled with hope. A ship resting on land, yet preparing to carry life itself. And then, the ark was finished. It stood as a monument of steadfast faith in a world drowning in disbelief. A symbol of mercy placed in the center of overwhelming sin. The moment the ark was completed, something unusual began to unfold in the sky. Clouds unlike any the people had ever seen gathered slowly at first, then thickened, heavy and foreboding. The air shifted. The wind changed. The earth itself seemed to hold its breath, as if anticipating something about to break open. And then it happened. The thing that stunned the entire human race. The first raindrops began to fall. Noah stood before the ark's doorway, lifting his eyes toward heaven. He knew. That moment was the dividing line between two ages. An old world was about to be washed away. A new world waited within the walls of a wooden vessel.